Hi everyone, it's Liam here from Rating the Races. I hope you all had a great Christmas and a great Boxing Day with so much racing on. It was quite difficult to keep up with all of it yesterday, but I've gone through, I've watched some races again and picked out a few that caught my eye, and also a few that there's one I don't want to be having a bet on at all, and I'll come to that in the upcoming video. So let's start with Yorksi, who won at Fontwell. Won at Fontwell off a mark of 124, which would just about get in the Fred Winter. If you've been watching my videos, you'll know I highlighted Yorksi for the Fred Winter after he finished third on debut at Cheltenham. He's now finished second at Cheltenham, and then he won at Fontwell. Now, he was expected to win at Fontwell. He didn't beat anything, but that's fine. That wasn't the plan. He didn't have to take on anything difficult. Just get a win under his belt. Off 124, he would just about get in the Fred Winter last year. If the handicapper decides to put him up £2 to 126, that's absolutely fine. Hopefully, the Fred Winter is the plan. I mean, the fact he's been beaten twice at Cheltenham, there's no point running in the Triumph. He's not going to win the Triumph. But off 124, 125, 126, I can certainly see him going close in a Fred Winter. So I was delighted with his performance yesterday. And hopefully the handicapper doesn't move him too much. Second horse that we've obviously highlighted was Phil Daw. I said after he won at Down Royal that he'll be a Triumph hurdle horse. He's since obviously won at Fairyhouse and yesterday at Leopardstown. And yesterday at Leopardstown, I thought he was very impressive. Although he won at 4 to 9 or 1.5 on the exchanges, he beat the right horses. I believe he led home a 1, 2, 3 for the ratings. He did. The right horses were behind in the right order. And he beat them comfortably. Now, Luna Power is only fifth favourite, or is fifth favourite for the Triumph himself. So the fact that Phil Daw, readily accounted for the now fifth favourite, Phil Daw is the right favourite for the Triumph, and he's going to take all the beating. Obviously, the race he won yesterday has been won by Zanahiyr and Aspire Tower in the last couple of years. Both ran well in the Triumph. Granted, they didn't win. Zanahiyr probably wanted a bit further in the end, and Colixios just had a bit more pace. Aspire Tower was obviously going to be behind Goshen and ended up finishing, I think he finished second behind Burning Victory in the end. I do think Phil Daw will go better than they did, and I do think Phil Daw is the right favourite for the Triumph Hurdle. However, the horse I don't want to have a bet on, I think you can get 5 to 2, 3 to 1 about Brave Man's Game for the RSA Chase. Now, Brave Man's Game won the Feltham or the Kelter Star Novices yesterday. And he won it impressively. He beat Ahoy Senor, pulled away at the finish. I thought he jumped really, really well. Really well. My concern would be that the Feltham just isn't the right novice. It's a 3 mile at Kempton, which is not 3 mile at Cheltenham. And if we have a look at previous winners of the Feltham, I've actually gone back. I went back to 1999. Couldn't find one that went on to win the RSA Chase. If we look at the last 10, for example, Shan Bleu finished 5th. Slate House finished 6th. Le Bagoard didn't run. Black Corton was 5th. Royal Vocation pulled up. T for 2 didn't run. Coney Gree did win at Cheltenham, but didn't actually run in the RSA. Went straight to the Gold Cup and won that. And obviously, Coney Gree had won his race by 40 lengths. So it was like significantly above average. Anacotti finished 8th. Dinas finished 2nd, but in the Giusen, or the 2.5 novice. And Grand Cru finished 4th. The last 10 winners, if you take out those, or just look at those who ran in the RSA Chase, they finished 5th, 6th, 5th, pulled up, 8th and 4th. And yet he's 5 to 2, 3 to 1 favourite. I still think he'll get beat when they go back to Cheltenham if he runs in the 3 miler. If he runs in the 2.5, I think he'd have a better chance, although he would have to take on Bob Ollinger, so would probably not run there either. But I will be looking to take him on in the 3 miler at Cheltenham. I haven't got who with yet, but I think although he was impressive, he's been backed, or he's been shortened based on a win over 3 mile at Kempton, which isn't the same as winning a 3 mile at Cheltenham. So let's move on to a few eye catchers. Finest View. Finest View finished second on Hurdle's debut at Wincanton and was beaten, if we load it up, by the top-rated Petticoat Lucy, I think it was called. Let's just load it up. Indeed, Petticoat Lucy. And Petticoat Lucy, if we hover over here, we can see had already had the experience over hurdles. I thought this was a good run from Finest View. And there's the Mayor's Novice Handicap, Grade 2 Handicap in March at Newbury, which I think is where they'll aim Finest View now. If they can get a handicap mark on her next run, I think she will be one that could be nicely handicapped, because I thought this was a very good effort behind Petticoat Lucy. Ran on strongly at the finish. She is only 4. Petticoat Lucy is a 5-year-old, so I think she'll improve as well. And I think there's plenty more to come from Finest View, and I hope they aim her at the Mayor's Novice Grade 2 Handicap Final at Newbury in March. The second horse that obviously caught my eye was Mr. Coffee. Now, going into the race, there was a few here that we'd highlighted previously. Your Darling, Jacamar, and obviously Jacamar went on to win the race. Since he was highlighted after finishing last of 3 and last of 2, he finished second, beaten ahead, and now he wins at 12-1 at Kempton. Great result for those that follow these videos. Mr. Coffee has also been highlighted, and he finished second. So if you did the forecast, you was very you gambled a bit and went for the forecast, then you would have been equally delighted or more delighted, because you would have got a decent forecast there. And Mr. Coffee caught my eye, running on strongly at Kempton. Now, I think this demonstrates he wants further than 2 mile and 2.5 mile at Kempton. I think there's an obvious race for him, and I think he'll reminds me very much of a horse who's done very similar. He runs on strongly over 2.5 at Kempton. Take him to 2.5 at Cheltenham. On the 29th of January, there is the 2.5 time form Novices Handicap Chase, which Simply the Bets won a couple of years ago after finishing second at Kempton, when we highlighted him from the Kempton race and said he's much better than that. I think Mr. Coffee is. I still think he's going to win a decent race. Simply the Bets went on to win at Cheltenham in January, before going on to win the Novice Handicap Chase at the Cheltenham Festival. Now, obviously, he's not going to win the Novice Handicap Chase at Cheltenham Festival this year, because there isn't one. But he could end up potentially running in a plate if they think he's got enough experience. But or they could save him for the Josh Gifford Novice Handicap Chase at Sandown towards the end of the season. The 2.5 trip, I do think, is what he needs, and I do think he will. I think he'll go even better next time at Cheltenham, over 2.5 mile on the 29th of January, and hopefully that's where they aim him. The third horse, let's switch the order there. The third horse I want to talk about is Empire Steel. He's very lightly raced, and he was running a very big race in the Roland Merrick when falling. I think he was going to win that day, or yesterday. He came there travelling really, really strongly before falling. Okay, it was a 3 or 4 from home, and we don't know what was going to happen. But the fact that he's so lightly raced, I think he's he's still improving. I do think the Ultima is where we'll see Empire Steel end up. I wouldn't have a problem with him going straight there. I think he's rated 141. I know it would be a risk going to a race like that off a fall. Maybe they could step him up and run him in a graded race where he just slightly struggles and his handicap mark stays off 141, but at least he completes the race. He's very lightly raced, and that's hugely eye-catching for Empire Steel, for Sandy Thompson. If they go to the Ultima, he's one that I quite like. The final horse I want to talk about is the unlucky. Is he unlucky, or is it that he just has issues with his jumping? He's now fallen or unseated 4 times in his last, 8 runs. A steering phalange. I think he was going to pick up Tornado Flyer. He really got some momentum coming into the last. He overjumped it and fell at the last, similar to how he did at Punchestown. I do think the way he's run on or travelled through the race at Punchestown and the way he was running on at Kempton, I do think they'll step him up and trip again. And obviously the main race, I think, for him will be the Irish Gold Cup back at Punchestown, where he generally runs really well. I don't think we'll see him in the Gold Cup because I thought he hated Cheltenham, and similarly, he didn't. I don't think he enjoyed it last year. They may end up in the Gold Cup at Cheltenham. I think if they stick to the Ryanair trip, obviously he'll have to take on Allaho, which could be very tough for him. But it's the Irish Gold Cup, the race that I think will see him to his best. And I do think he'll win that. I think if he turns up against the same sort of horses, even Album Photo at Punchestown, I really think Asterion Phalange is very good. He's just got that jumping fragility about him. He can make a mistake. I don't even think sometimes he makes a mistake. He just overjumps. Like, again, there. He just overjumped at the last and fell. But he's not one to give up on if you're an Asterion Phalange supporter. And if you are giving up on him after 2 falls, well, he's already won 5 times. You know, at 4-1 back at Leopardstown, he won at 11-4 at Punchestown. So you're not that far. Are you even down? I don't even know. 2, so that's 2, that's 6. That's still 6. We'd say that's another 3. That's 9. So you're plus 9 minus your defeats, which is 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You'd be plus 1 if you'd backed him from the start of his career. 2 ISP, backing him every time, win only. You'd actually be slightly more if you backed him on the exchanges. But anyway, let's move on to the Welsh National, and we'll talk about the 2 horses that I like for the Welsh National. The first one is Potter's Corner, who has sneaked in at the bottom, got in as number 20. Now, he does run at £9 out of the handicap, which means he's effectively running off 141, but Jack Tudor takes 3 off, so he's running off 138. Now, I highlighted him when he was running off 137 and felt the race was perfect for him, the Welsh National. So, although he's dropped further, am I happy? Do I think he could go well off 138, which is what he's running off? Yes. He's got regulation fences. He's got the trip that he wants. He's got the soft ground. I think he'll go very, very close here. And hopefully, I imagine Connections will get in touch and tell me I've been talking rubbish all season. If he goes and wins this, I don't think I have. You know, he's scraped in at the bottom. So they've, you know, they'll say it was perfect. We'll see. We would disagree there, but hopefully he can run a really big race here. Second horse I want to talk about is Elegant Escape. Again, he's had 2 runs in Welsh Nationals. He's won 1 and he's finished 6th in 1. Now, he finished 6th off a mark of 150. He runs here off a lower mark. I think he runs off 142. Let me just load it up on my other screen. He finished 6th of 160. He runs here off 156. Now, I think that gives him a chance straight away. Soft ground will definitely help him, but also the inclusion of Native River in this race means he carries 11 stone 2 instead of 11 stone 12, which he carried last year, or 2 years ago, sorry. And I think that's very interesting. Just not having that extra weight on his back will certainly help him. And because Native River is in the race and he's likely to go forward, you're going to have to be just short of graded class probably to keep up. And I think Elegant Escape is or was that. I do think he was nearly there. And obviously he's been competing in much harder races recently. You can forgive him his last run when he was 7th. It was over 2 mile in a hurdle race. That was just a prep run. Don't worry about that. But before that, he ran in a Gold Cup. And he'd also tried to contest a Grand National trial. That was probably his only disappointing run. Was the Grand National trial at Haydock when he pulled up. But before that, you know, he finished 6th. He went off 9-4 for the Welsh National in 2019, off a £4 higher mark on similar conditions when, if anything, it may have just been slightly too heavy for him. and he was carrying 11 stone 12 instead of 11.2. I think he's going to go very close here, and I think you can still get 12s and 14s about him. Potter's Corner is being backed a little bit. Elegant Escape not so much yet, but I think they'll both run really big races. So there's some thoughts of yesterday and my 2 for the Welsh Grand National today. Good luck if you're having a bet, and hopefully another great day of racing.